Imagine waking up every single day, braving freezing rain, blistering heat, and the terrifying dangers of a busy city street, just to sit at a bleak, concrete bus stop. You do not leave. You do not give up. You just wait for a bus that comes and goes, looking for a face that never steps off. For 2 entire years, one puppy did exactly this. This is not a Hollywood movie script manufactured to make you cry. This is the staggering, heartbreaking true story of a dog whose heart absolutely refused to accept what the rest of the world already knew. Welcome back. Today we are looking at a story that completely shattered a local community and captivated millions of people around the world. We have all heard legendary tales of animal loyalty, but when this specific puppy was spotted day after day at a dusty suburban bus stop, it sparked a massive mystery that took 24 agonizing months to solve. Why was he sitting there? Who exactly was he waiting for? And what happens when an animal's devotion pushes them to the absolute limit of physical and mental survival? I am going to walk you through the precise timeline of this incredible vigil, the fascinating psychology behind why dogs physically cannot let go, and the final resolution that absolutely nobody saw coming. It all started on a completely normal Tuesday morning. A local bus driver named Tom was running his usual 6 a.m. route when he noticed a small, scruffy puppy sitting perfectly still at the edge of the pavement. The dog was not begging for food. He was not looking for attention or pets from the waiting commuters. His eyes were completely locked on the pneumatic doors of the bus. When the doors opened, the puppy stood up, peered intently inside the vehicle, and then quietly sat back down when the passengers disembarked, and his person wasn't among them. The bus drove away, the diesel fumes faded, and the dog remained. At first, the neighborhood assumed it was just a stray dog, looking for temporary shelter under the bus stop's awning. But as days turned into weeks, a haunting and undeniable pattern emerged. The dog was not just hanging around aimlessly. He was adhering to a staggeringly strict schedule. He would arrive right before the morning commute, stay through the blazing afternoon heat, and intently watch the evening buses roll in. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, the puppy was glued to that exact geographical coordinate. To truly understand why a dog would subject itself to this, we have to look deep into the canine brain. Dogs do not experience the passage of time the way you and I do. Humans use clocks, watches, and the sun. Dogs experience time almost entirely through scent. As the day progresses, the concentration of certain smells in the air changes. The morning dew evaporates. The hot asphalt releases odors, and the air cools again in the evening. This puppy knew exactly when his owner was supposed to return, because the scent of the local air had faded to the exact specific level it always did when they reunited. His entire biological clock and neurological wiring were anchored to that specific moment at that specific bus stop. But here is where the story gets deeply concerning. As the months dragged on, the dog grew from a fluffy puppy into a weathered adult. The local community started to take serious notice of his unwavering dedication. A local bakery owner named Marco began bringing the dog scraps of fresh meat and warm bread. Commuters would leave heavy ceramic bowls of water so they wouldn't blow away in the wind. Several well-meaning citizens even tried to take him home. They would gently lift him into their cars, drive him to a warm, safe house, and offer him a soft bed. But the dog would utterly refuse to eat. He would panic, scratch desperately at the front door, whine continuously, and the moment he was let out, he would sprint straight back to the bus stop. He was a prisoner of his own extraordinary loyalty. This psychological phenomenon is known by animal behaviorists as placebound attachment. In the wild, if a wolf pack gets separated due to a predator or a storm, the individual members are programmed to return to the last known location of their family. This dog was not being stubborn. He was following a primal survival instinct millions of years in the making. His pack leader had vanished at this exact bus stop, and his DNA was screaming at him to hold the line until the leader returned. Let us look back at history for a second to put this into perspective. The most famous historical example of this is Hachiko, the legendary Japanese Akita who waited for his deceased owner at a bustling train station in Tokyo. For over 9 years, Hachiko became a national symbol of loyalty. He had an entire station of staff caring for him, feeding him, and protecting him from the elements. But our bus stop puppy was waiting on a dangerous, high-traffic suburban road, risking his life every single time a speeding vehicle blew past. The physical toll on his body was immense and undeniable. He lost weight. His coat became heavily matted with dirt and motor oil, and he developed a noticeable limp from sleeping on the freezing, unforgiving concrete during the bitter winter months. This next part is what nobody wants to admit about loyalty. Loyalty, when pushed to the absolute extreme, looks a lot like deep, agonizing grief. The community slowly realized that this dog was not just waiting with hope. He was actively mourning. Rumors started to circulate wildly about who the owner actually was. Some locals insisted it was a construction worker who had moved out of state for a new job. Others firmly believed the owner had been taken away in an ambulance to a hospital and simply never returned. The truth, which was eventually uncovered by a relentless local animal rescue group, was far more tragic than anyone had guessed. The dog had belonged to an elderly man who lived in a small apartment complex just down the street. Every single day, the elderly man would take the bus to a local clinic for specialized medical treatments, and the puppy would proudly walk him to the stop and wait right there for him to return. It was their daily ritual, their unbreakable bond. But one fateful afternoon, the man suffered a massive and fatal medical emergency while inside the clinic. He never made it back onto the evening bus. The man's estranged family, who came to clear out the apartment, did not know anything about the dog's daily waiting routine. In the chaos of moving furniture and packing boxes, the puppy simply slipped out the front door to do what he always did: wait for his best friend. Have you ever held on to something long after you knew, deep down, it was gone? Take a moment and really think about it. We humans pride ourselves on our supreme intelligence, our ability to use logic to move on from painful situations, and our capacity to rationalize our grief. We constantly tell ourselves to just let go and move forward. But this dog represents the absolute purest, most unfiltered form of love on the planet. A love that does not calculate risk, does not care about freezing weather, and completely rejects the modern concept of moving on. He forces us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves a very hard question. Have we ever loved anyone with that level of absolute, unbreakable devotion? Have we ever been that loyal? As the timeline crossed the 2-year mark of his lonely vigil, the situation became utterly critical. The local authorities were getting an increasing number of calls about a stray dog becoming a potential traffic hazard. Animal control officers were dispatched multiple times with nets and catch poles. But the dog was highly intelligent. He would hide deep in the nearby thorny bushes. The very moment he saw the distinct white truck approaching, only to return to his post the absolute second they drove away. The community was fiercely protective of him, often warning the dog when the trucks were coming. But they also knew he could not possibly survive another brutal, freezing winter on that concrete slab. Then, something incredible finally happened. A woman named Sarah, who ran a specialized canine rehabilitation center miles away, saw a viral post about the bus stop dog. She possessed a deep understanding of dog psychology. She knew that simply trapping him by force would permanently break his spirit and destroy his trust in humans forever. She knew she had to do something highly unconventional. She had to convince the dog, on his own terms, that his watch had finally ended. Sarah did not bring a metal cage. She did not bring a catch pole. She brought a simple folding chair. For 30 straight days, Sarah drove to that bus stop and just sat quietly next to the dog. She didn't try to pet him. She didn't try to force a collar over his neck. She didn't even make direct eye contact, which dogs can interpret as a threat. She simply shared his vigil. She was speaking his native psychological language, the deeply comforting language of presence. Slowly, the dog began to recognize her scent and her routine. He realized she was not there to forcefully take him away from his post. She was there to stand guard alongside him. By day 40, the dog finally, exhausted and weary, rested his heavy head directly on Sarah's shoe. It was a massive psychological breakthrough. Oxytocin, the powerful bonding hormone, was finally overriding his chronic stress hormones. Sarah started bringing soft items that belonged to a safe indoor environment, a fleece blanket, a specific plush toy, and placed them directly at the bus stop. She was psychologically expanding his definition of home, right there on the pavement. You might think this story ends in a dramatic rescue with sirens, nets, and a struggle, but the climax is something beautifully quiet. It happened on a cold, rainy Thursday afternoon. Sarah opened the side door to her warm car, and instead of backing away in panic like he had done 100 times before, the dog stopped. He looked at the empty bus stop. He looked at the rain hitting the pavement. And then he looked at Sarah. For the very first time in over 700 days, he willingly stepped off the concrete and into the vehicle. He didn't panic. He didn't whine or scratch at the windows. He just curled up on the soft back seat and let out a long, shuddering, deeply exhausted sigh. His 2-year shift was finally over. Today, that incredible dog lives permanently with Sarah on a massive, fully fenced rescue farm. He has acres of green grass to run in, a warm stone fireplace to sleep beside, and a completely new pack of rescue dogs to protect and play with. He no longer waits by the side of a dangerous road. His body has fully healed, and his coat is thick and shiny again. But the local community never, ever forgot him. In fact, the commuters and local business owners actually raised enough money to build a small, beautiful permanent shelter at that exact bus stop. Inside the shelter, there is a bronze plaque honoring the dog's unbelievable 2-year vigil. It stands as a permanent monument to the staggering power of a dog's unconditional love. Stories like this deeply remind us that animals are not just disposable pets or background characters in our lives. They are highly intelligent, deeply emotional beings completely capable of a loyalty that most humans cannot even comprehend. They experience love, crippling grief, and endless hope with an intensity that is truly humbling to witness. The very next time you look at your dog resting on the couch, remember that to them, you are not just a part of their world. You are their entire universe. If this incredible story moved you, please hit that like button right now. It directly helps us share these powerful, true stories with a wider audience. And if you want to understand more about the hidden psychology and amazing true stories of the animal kingdom, make absolutely sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. You will not want to miss the mind-blowing investigations we have coming up next. Before you go, leave a comment down below, telling us about the most deeply loyal animal you have ever known in your own life. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.